All right, everybody, can you give it the hell up for your friend and mine, Alex Pittner?
Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Pittner, and I just want to share a couple stories that have happened in my life that bring me some joy. Um, One of them being one time I was on an elevator and I'm at the library and I'm leaving the library and I'm in this elevator and there's like 14, 15 people like all crammed in this elevator. We're like more than shoulder to shoulder, like full sardines style. We're squished in there. And it's really awkward because we're all like close together and we're looking at the elevator doors and I have all like these like dusty shoe prints going up and down them, like different shoes and everything. And so one of the people in the elevator is like, why do people do that? Why do they kick the elevator? And everyone in here that like broke the tension and we all start talking, being like, how do they take off their shoes to get it so high? And we're all talking and having a good time. And then a guy direct me to my left decides to go, yeah, it's just like jerking off in a public restroom. And the elevator goes completely silent, save for me because I'm touching this man. So I started to panic and I went, what? Why? And he turned and he looks at me in the eyes. He's like, because it's unnecessary. I like to imagine that dude's like a public menace. Like he's like scooting around town. He like goes to a restaurant and orders like a really unhealthy meal. And then the server's like, how was your meal? And he's like, my meal? It was like jerking off in the janitorial closet of a church. It was really good, but I'm feeling a little bit guilty about it. When I was a senior, junior in high school, I did this like college experience type thing at a university in San Antonio. And essentially what happened is each people doing like the tour was partnered up with a student at the university, and then you'd like live with them and help go about your day with them for a couple of days just to see if you liked it, see if it fit. And so me and this one kid, we'll call him Jake, were assigned to this dude who's like a total frat guy, total bro, like loves the frat. Like when we meet him, like the first thing he said was like Alpha Chi Phi boys, I'm like, well, because listen, and we're talking to him. One of the things that you had to do to get into the frat that he was in was an interview. And you only got to do this interview one time. Like he told me that they keep records of it so that you can't retake the interview, right? And one of the like conditions to get into this frat was prior to the interview, you have to have watched the movie Lone Survivor at least 2 times prior to the interview so that they knew that you understood true brotherhood. If you have a brother, that doesn't mean shit. But if you've seen Mark Wahlberg in a fucking uniform, you know about brotherhood. So I'm in the dorm with this guy, and the three of us are talking. And Jake starts talking. I think it was about like a video game or something. And then the frat guy just goes, "Shut the fuck up. Shut up." Then he like gets like real close. You guys want to see something really cool? We're like, sure. And he goes over to an adjoining dorm. There's 2 beds. Goes over to one of the beds, ducks under it, reaches his hand under, and pulls out a tiny key that's taped to the bottom of the underside of the bed, right? Then he goes back into his dorm, and he has like on a shelf the full collection of all the Harry Potter books, which I thought was out of character for this guy. He grabs the 5th one, pulls it down, opens it up, and the inside of the book is hollowed out. And there's like a little like lock box in here. And he pulls it, it's fairly sizable. So he pulls it out and he puts it down and he inserts the hidden key, right? Then he pulls out another key that's on his key ring and puts it in another lock. This little lockbox is like fucking nuclear codes. Like you have to turn 2 separate keys at the same time. So I'm starting to get really scared. Like I'm afraid that this dude's about to pull out like a gun or something. But he opens it up, pops it open, like Pulp Fiction style, fucking light raining right down his face. And this dude pulls out a full deck of holographic Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and he's rifling through them, just like, yeah. He like gets in closer, and he's like, I spent more than $800 on these bags.
Oh my god.
And then puts them away. So wherever, if some fucking how that dude is watching this, I'm sorry for breaking the pact of secrecy. So I have been, I think like everybody, you know, COVID's hit me hard, especially like anxiety wise. Like I get real scared to like go to the grocery store because that's like basically the only time I like leave. And so, you know, I go to Walmart one day and I'm in the parking lot and I'm in my car. And I'm like hyping myself up, you know, I got mask, I got gloves, long sleeves, everything. I'm like, just go, just don't be scared. You're not gonna catch, you might catch it, you're not gonna, you know, I'm trying to hype myself up. And so finally I'm like, okay, let's go, get the courage, get out of my car. And I'm like walking, I'm out of the car for like 30 seconds. And then a dude from behind tries to pants me. I feel a sharp tug on my pants. Now, luckily, I'm wearing a belt due to the long, you know, pants. So, and I turn around to look at this person who just tried to pants me in a Walmart parking lot. Because I'm thinking this is probably somehow a friend, but it's not. I don't recognize this guy at all. And you know, sometimes it's hard to read like expressions like with the mask. But I didn't need to see all of his face. I just needed to see his eyes to know that like this guy was crushed. Like this guy needed a win so bad, it looked like. And that win was to pants a stranger in the Walmart parking lot. And like he looked so sad, I almost apologized. Like I was like, and I was like, wait, I don't need to apologize to this guy. He's borderline assaulted me in the Walmart parking lot. One time I was in my driving school. This is back high school. And I'm in driving school, and I'm in there, and this whole class, we're just kind of sitting there, we're bored, waiting for class to start. And our teacher hasn't shown up, and so we're just kind of, you know, bored. And then we hear like the door at the front of the place open. And then like we hear like these like heavy fucking footsteps. Like it's like Jurassic Park vibes, like where you like see the water like move with each step the T-Rex takes. And then this like old woman like hobbles in, goes over to like the desk where the teacher sits, grabs the chair, like slowly pulls it to the center of the room. She like sits down, she gets comfortable. And like, this isn't like our regular teacher. Like this is a sub. We haven't seen this woman before. She's just kind of quiet. And then she goes, the year was October 12th, 1972. I just gotten out of a relationship. I ended things, of course. And one night I'm in my home doing homework. And there's a knock at the door, and it's him. It's my ex. He asks if I want to go for a drive. I was naive enough to say yes. We get in his car and trying to talk to him, but he's unresponsive. We drive, we drive, we drive. Then we start getting real far out. We're on a country road. I swear I saw that speedometer go about as high as I'd ever seen one go. And then he jerked the wheel to the left as hard as he could. The car flipped twice before I lost consciousness. And when I came to, I was hanging upside down, my seatbelt being the only thing holding me up. To this day, the most painful thing I've ever experienced was me having to unbuckle that seatbelt and slamming my broken body into the ceiling of the car. I crawled out and must have hobbled along for 2 miles before a truck picked me up. And then she paused for a very long time. And then she goes, "Class dismissed." And we never saw that woman again. Which, that was a weird call to my mom too, who had just dropped me off at driving school just like 5 minutes later to be like, "Hey mom, can you come pick me up? You're wearing your seatbelt, right? Because if it flips twice, or no, Dad never asked to go on a drive with you, right? Like that's not okay. I feel like it's pretty apparent from my like face and attitude and hair that I've never had sex. I feel like it's I mean, come on. I feel like the energy that I exude is just one of someone who doesn't know shit about sex. I have been in sexual situations though. All right. For instance, I was in my Brit Lit class. All right. Already things are pretty sexual. Okay, I know. And the professor does the thing where they're like, talk to your neighbor about, whatever. And I'm sitting next to this girl and we kind of hit it off. And so she asked for my Snapchat. I gave it to her. And then a little while later, I'm in my apartment and I'm with some friends and we're getting ready to play Dungeons and Dragons. And I get a Snapchat and it's from this girl, right? And it just says, "Hey," with like a bunch of Y's and a winky face. And I'm like, "What's up?" And she goes, "Want to come over to my place to study?" With a wink, a like lipstick on the glass, like kiss emoji, a eggplant emoji, and 2 of the like water droplet emojis, right? Which I'm a pretty naive dude, okay? But I knew what that meant, all right? So I'm sitting there and I like show it to my friends and I'm faced with this choice in this moment. Either I lose my virginity, partake in a monumental moment in everybody's life. I no longer must stare out the window at sunset, thinking to myself, what does clapping cheeks feel like? I don't have to wonder. Or I can play mathematical pretend with my boys for a couple of hours. And this is a tough fucking choice for your friend Alex. And I was sitting there and I'm like, what do I do? Then I figure it out. I know how to handle this situation. All right. So here's how the conversation goes in the Snapchat. "Hey, I'm like, what's up? Want to come over to my place to study?" And I responded, No need! I studied for the test on Tuesday. As a matter of fact, here you go. And I gave her a link to a study guide that I made. And I said, everything that's in blue is fun jokes and things to jog your memory during the test. Also, bam, here's a Quizlet that I made using the same information. And then I went and I played Dungeons and Dragons with my friends, and it was a lot of fun. Thank you, guys. When I was about 8 or 9, that was the age that I learned that in the world there are some people that are truly evil, like rotten to the core. And I learned this because when I was like 8 or 9, my family was fortunate enough to be able to travel to the Dominican Republic. To this day, it's the only time I've been out of the country. And while I was there, we met a guy who like made hats out of palm branches. And so he made me a hat and I loved it. Like, like I would sleep with it in my arms like a teddy bear. I loved this little palm branch hat. I thought it was so cool. And so we leave the Dominican Republic and, you know, we're at an airport in Florida coming back into the country. And this lady who's working for the TSA walks up to me and she's like, hey, and I'm like, hey. And she's like, here's the deal. So that hat is that authentic like palm? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, so here's the deal. You know, sometimes, you know, when you buy, you know, like things like palm branches and, you know, come back to the country, some insects that aren't native to like our environments in America hitch a ride. So we just got to take that to the back and scan it real quick, make sure there's no insects on there. And then, you know, it'll probably be clear and then I'll give it back to you. Is that okay? I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. So I give her the hat. She takes the hat and she like walks towards the door. And she stops when she gets to the door and she turns around and like glances to see if I'm watching, and I am. And she throws the hat into a trash can that's right next to the door. They say that one of the first things you forget about a person is their face. And I can tell you right now, I could not describe to you the face of my childhood best friend at all, but I could probably describe in detail the glee that filled her face when she watched me die on the inside. My name's Alex. Thanks for listening to me. I love you.